Hello and welcome back. I'm incredibly excited, probably a bit overexcited, because I've got Steve, who is the headmaster of the local primary school in the town I now live in, called Budleigh Salterton. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. Okay, it really is a pleasure, because if there's something that's going to float my boat, it's education.
Yeah.
I think it's probably in our society, and I've had a lot of concern over the last few years about what the future is and what it's all about. And the key to it all is education.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we'll probably talk a bit more about that.
I hope so. So, Steve, involved in education. How long have you been in Budleigh?
I've lived in Budleigh for about 15 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a place I've always wanted to live. So I grew up and born in Exmouth, but spent a lot of time growing up coming across to Budleigh Beach or the shops or playing for Budleigh Football Club. So I've always been drawn into Budleigh and got the opportunity to move there, about 15 years ago.
Well, I too spent time growing up in and around Exmouth, coming to visit my grandparents in Exmouth. My memories of Budleigh were twofold. First, I'd never ever seen a pebble beach like that.
Oh, yeah.
And the second thing is, as a young person, it also had a nudist area, and I thought, well, the two things I always talked about were the pebble beach and the nudist area.
Yeah, and as a youngster, you get acclimatised to being able to walk on the pebble beach as well. So I think lots of people who move when they're older, you can definitely tell they're not a native because they can't walk on the pebbles in the same way.
I think it's great. If you swim in Budleigh, the great thing is not getting in the water, which can be cold at times, but getting out of the water, because the pebbles are just disappearing as you're trying to climb up.
Yeah, there's definitely a skill in that. There's definitely a skill. But yeah, I think also getting in, I think people appreciate there's a shelf so you can get in nice and quickly and just get your swim over and done with.
It's lovely. It's lovely. It is a beautiful, beautiful location.
It's the best.
It is incredible. And if I look at it and look at how things have happened over the last few years, the whole development of all sorts of things in Budleigh.
Yeah, we've got obviously the Otter estuary restoration, which is just now incredible. The amount of wildlife that's there and the opportunities to run and walk. We are so lucky. And go to lots of places around the world, and I come back to Budleigh and think, I don't need to go anywhere else, do I? I think it's just an amazing place to live.
So can I declare a little bit of envy with what you do? Because when I started at teachers training, we all had to go and spend a month in a primary school.
Oh, yeah.
We all got in a coach and went to a primary school.
Yeah.
So I get dumped, being about 18 years old at the time, into a primary school, never having been a teacher in my life before. And I absolutely fell in love with it.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I thought I was going to become a secondary school teacher, and I had a career previous to this in the city in London, and I went into a secondary school to get some experience. And I thought, this is quite nice. But then I went into a primary school, and I was like, wow, this is just incredible. The difference that you can make, but the fun that you can have with the children is pretty.
I
unique.
have to apologise to all those poor kids in Stroud who had to suffer me for a month.
Well, it was worth it, wasn't it?
No, it was fantastic. It was. I almost came back because I was doing a mainstream secondary course, and I almost came back and went to the tutor to say, I don't want to do secondary anymore. I want to do primary.
Well, I think there's also a bit of a stigma with males going into primary school as well. I think if you're a male, you feel you have to be a secondary school teacher and you have to teach like maths or PE or something like that. So it does take a little bit of confidence and bravery to say, no, actually, we do need some representation in primary schools. So, we're a bit of a rare breed.
Okay. So when you go to heads meeting, are you do you stand out by being in a minority, just being males, as opposed to that, or is it quite a spread now amongst Devon?
I would say when I first became a head, it was predominantly male. So the balance was in primary schools, mainly female teachers, but mainly male head teachers. But I think it's pretty even now, which is a good thing.
I've had that conversation now on several occasions with people about understanding the significance of what you do on a day-by-day basis, and saying to them, is there an occasion in your life when you remember a particular instance with a teacher? Do you remember that when you were at school?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's always a few teachers that stick in your mind that have made a difference to you. So I think like Mrs. Kane was my geography teacher at secondary school, and the encouragement and the praise that she gave me kind of enabled me to want to go on and achieve in all of my other subjects as well. I don't know, she just sticks in my mind as somebody who was able to inspire me and help me like realize my potential. So she was a really special teacher for me.
Okay, it's interesting actually, because did you ever actually let her know that?
I think I probably tried. I've met her a few times since to say how much kind of enjoyed it, but
Good.
she's so self-effacing. I don't think she probably took that on board. So I hope she's listening now to realise what a difference she made.
Oh, an enormous difference. I think it cements all sorts of things in people's lives. So here I am, and there you are, deciding you're now. So you grew up in and around Exmouth and Budleigh, so you know this area, and you view other people who don't know about it kind of going, oh, you really ought to find out about it.
Well, what in terms of like how lucky we are, and you kind of want to protect it a little bit, so don't you? It's like a hidden gem. We're very privileged, aren't we? I think there's a certain amount of a bubble that we live in our area. We live in a beautiful place. We don't suffer for very much crime. But on the other hand, we then aren't exposed to much diversity and difference, which then also I think is. I think
most people view Budleigh as an area where old people live, and that's not the truth at all, is it?
No. There's a large a population of families that live in Budleigh, but I think that the lion's share of attention will certainly go to the older generation, and I don't really know why that is.
I think it's just a perception issue. And people talk, for example, I heard some statistics the other night about the age profile of people in particular locations. And they were talking about the age profile of people in Budleigh and also Sidmouth in the same conversation.
Yeah.
And it is dominated by older people.
Yeah. But it masks it, doesn't it? It masks like what's really going on in the town and the various kind of socio-economic groups that you have.
I think the diversity is phenomenal, and the life experience diversity is also phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's something that at the school we try to tap into as well, kind of like encouraging people to come and volunteer who then bring their own experiences into the school and experiences with our young people. We kind of really value that.
I think what you've done and what you've achieved against a backcloth of sometimes struggling because of lack of funding, because of the lack of investment that's been made, is something that you are now well known for.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think I've experienced 15 years now as a head teacher, and so right at the beginning of my career, I was able to, I guess, experience schools that were well funded. Sorry,
It's okay.
I'm going to take my phone out because it's talking to me.
Right, stop talking in class. Okay, I'm not going to
again.
pull the teacher lines on you. Okay.
So yeah, I've had 15 years of being a head teacher, and the beginning of my career was before we experienced austerity. So the school system was funded, I think, really well.
But you didn't have to do all the funding and so forth. You didn't have to manage it like you're managing a business, though, did you?
No, it was really my job was to take the resources that we have and make sure that they were allocated where they were needed. And as time's gone on, my job has been to recognise where we don't have resources and the funding, and to go out and get it myself, because no one else is going to get it for me. And I can either kind of say, accept it, and think, what can I do about that? Nothing, so my community's going to suffer, my children, my families are going to suffer. Or I can kind of suck it up and just say, right, well, no one else is going to do this for you, Steve. You can complain as much as you like to the government. You can write as many letters as you want. The only person that's going to kind of change this is you. So I think that's where I've had some success in terms of like just being pretty determined to solve those issues myself
And get a better place as a result of it.
Yeah, and then you see the impact that it makes, and that kind of like inspires you to keep doing it, because you get that kind of nice positive feedback loop. Brilliant. I've been able to secure some funding for those children to do that. Well, I'm going to make sure that I do that again. And you're also at the same time trying to then think about how you make that sustainable, so you don't have to keep going out and getting the money all of the time. And yeah, refining how you use resources has been a learning process and a skill that I've developed as well.
Okay. So being engaged and involved with lots of other people, you have to elicit the help and support of the community that you're a part of.
Yeah, and we're, as you know, we're part of a really fantastic community, and there's some very generous people in the town who are able to either give their time or their money or their networks to support the school.
Right.
And I certainly think that I leverage that as much as I can.
So let's go back, if we can. Let's wind the clock back a little bit. I'm trying to imagine, right, you growing up and being in school, and I quite often spend time looking back and thinking, what do you think other people said about you or thought about you when you were growing up?
When I was at school, I think I was quite shy at school. My teachers would have said I was shy and probably should have put my hand up more. I worked hard. They would have said I was hardworking. I was intelligent. I think I definitely, have been very lucky. I have a really good memory. So I think they'd have thought that I was probably a nice pupil to have in their class.
Was that with the support of your family who actually produced that or not?
Yeah, 100%. I've thought about this a lot, because you try to analyse yourself to try to replicate that in the things that you do.
How do you reproduce that again?
Well, yeah, it's, I do not come from a privileged family at all. So my family have a very strong work ethic. So I've seen my parents, both of them, work really, really hard. But also, I think they also demonstrate a lot of kindness. So, both my mum and my dad were very giving in terms of their time towards us as children, but also to community. So, for example, my dad would do anything for anybody. He was my football coach, and for my brothers. But if anybody needed support with anything, he'd be there. And the same with my mum. If you live in Exmouth, you probably know my mum. She's just so outward and social. But again, she's just so kind and caring, and will do anything at a drop of a hat for anybody. So I think I probably picked up on their work ethic and their values, and that's kind of what drove me forwards. And then I was the first person in my family to go to university. So
where did you go to university?
I went to Southampton.
Oh, did you?
So
okay.
So I was kind of enabled, I think, by their support and their resources to get me to that point. And then it opened up a whole nother world of opportunity for me. So by that point, my sporting achievements, I think, really helped me. So first and foremost, I'm a footballer. I know that you're a rugby
person. Yeah, sorry. It doesn't mean to say that we can't like each other. Okay.
But sport has taught me so much. So I would say, I'm quite good at football. So I was able to kind of get into positions where I was the captain of my team. So that developed a lot of leadership in me. And also afforded me a lot of, kudos or amongst my peer group as well. If you're good at football, your peer group is instantly kind of sorted out. So going through into university, I was instantly, into the football team and progressed to become like the club captain of the football club. So you're working with a lot of different people at university.
I know you're doing a bit of academia on the way. What subject did you do at university?
Well, I know that's an interesting point in itself, because of my background, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My family weren't really clued up as to what I was going to be able to do and the pathways I was going to take. So we kind of plumped for something that was probably going to earn me lots of money. So we thought, like, with my kind of maths background, like accountancy was going to be my thing. And so I started this accountancy degree, and like almost instantly regretted it. I was like, what am I doing? What am I learning here? This is just not for me, because although I'm kind of academic and mathematical, I'm probably more social than that. So I changed almost straight away to another degree. It was called management science, which was a range of different things. So there was law, politics, economics, maths, computing, everything. So it was a very broad degree, which also enabled me to kind of generate a bit of a business background, I guess, as well, which has served me in my job that I do now. So that was interesting. But I continued to go through university not knowing what I wanted to do when I left. I thought,
We'll wait till the fact you got to a position where you had to go and earn some money now. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's go back to this, you growing up with your family. Only because I would ask you, because sometimes, and I'm going to use this phrase because if I could actually make this a public phrase, I would do. You have to love your kids unconditionally.
Yeah. I mean, interesting you say that, because it's definitely a philosophy that I adopted in the first school that I worked in. If we're going to support parents to support their children, the first thing they have to understand is you have to love them unconditionally. So
they will do things wrong and you'll have things to deal with, but that is what being a parent is all about.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception that we have of parents these days is you have to be a perfect parent. We don't need or want perfect parents. You just need to be good enough.
Sure.
And so there's loads of things that my parents did that wasn't right, wasn't perfect. The same for me as a parent. But what they provided was unconditional love. Whatever you do, we're going to be there for you. You're going to make mistakes along the way. And I think the message that my mum, I think, was really good at giving me in particular was life is difficult, life's going to be tough. And her phrase she used to use all the time is, well, Steve, life isn't a bed of roses, when I used to face difficulties. So she was quite stoic in that respect, but also determined that I was going to work hard and do well, because she didn't want me to
No, but I also
difficult.
think, just to focus on that for a moment, because I want to come back and emphasise that, because I think it is a big issue and it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And we need to dedicate more time about communicating to parents about dealing with quite specific issues. What do you do and how do you handle that? What tactics are available and how you can actually do that? There's almost running a curriculum and a course for how to be a parent. And I'm not talking about being a perfect parent. I'm just going, if this happened, how would you deal with this?
Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think that is a mindset that parents believe that they should just be able to do parenting. They should be able to read a book, watch a podcast, go on social media, and then know how to do parenting.
And know how to do it.
But I don't think you can adopt that attitude. I think it's a better attitude to adopt, is that it's going to be difficult. Parenting is difficult for everybody. And that parent that you think is a perfect parent is probably working really hard behind the scenes and not really being honest with you about how difficult they're finding things. Nobody has a perfect child. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be ups and downs. So I think it's better probably to say to parents, be honest, let's be open with the challenges that you're facing, and then have a discussion around what's the best way to do that. But I think facing the
realities of what is impacting them and their behaviour.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to it a bit later, but one of the things I feel so strongly about is the lack of understanding about peer group pressure.
Yeah.
And about that peer group pressure and how it impacts upon kids and their behaviour.
Yeah, my child has to be perfect. They have to go to bed perfectly. They have to do their homework perfectly. They have to eat all their foods. Life doesn't happen like that. So let's be a bit more honest to say, just be good enough. If your child, if you manage to feed your child and get them to bed at a reasonable hour, And, you know, maybe 3 or 4 nights a week might be more difficult. That's just life. It's not a bed of roses. It's going to be difficult.
I think one of the things that I would deal with for a moment, and actually say this as a warning to teachers, because I've had it quoted to me quite often, is limiting their self-belief, where people casually say things, look at them and say, oh, well, you'll never do that. You won't achieve very much. And I've heard adults talk to me and say how that impacted them, and it stayed with them for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I think that's huge, isn't it? We shouldn't be putting any limits on what anybody can do, and our own prejudices of what we experienced at school, what people have said to us, can be really damaging. And like, I think maths is always the classic one, isn't it? It's like, you know, I couldn't do maths, so you won't be able to do maths. But that's just completely the wrong mindset to have. It's better to say, like, I found maths difficult, or I found these things difficult. Doesn't mean that you can't do them. It might just be that there's some barriers you've got to knock through.
You might be wired in a different way.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I think, you know, that's a bit of a hot topic for me at the moment, is that we do expect everyone to turn out perfectly, but we are all so different. And when we don't turn out as we expect, we immediately have to kind of like medicalize that. And actually, there should be just some acceptance.
We have to put a label on it, don't we?
We have to label that difficulty. We have to medicalize it, rather than just saying, you know, we are all different. We are all going to be wired different. We don't need to.
I know it sounds as though I'm just casting dispersions from the side, because I spent a long time as a teacher. And I realised that vocabulary that now exists. So, for example, neurodiversity didn't exist when I was teaching.
Yep.
Right. And being on a spectrum didn't exist. Although we were dealing, and I look at all the kids that I dealt with, undoubtedly, lots of them would have existed on that spectrum.
Yep.
But now it becomes the language. If I hear another person talk about autism and ADHD, it's become, it's become part of people's normal go-to communication.
Yeah, definitely. And thinking back to what my mum says about us when we were growing up, I think if social media existed when we were growing up, my mum would have told us, my brother and I, that we had ADHD. But obviously she didn't know what that was at the time, and wouldn't have worried about it. You know, instead she recognised in myself and my brother that we had a lot of energy. And she would say to us, if I didn't take you two boys out and wear you out, you know, we'd have to go out for walks, take you out to the park, get you out on your bikes. She said, you were a nightmare. You'd have been in home just fighting each other. So, you know.
How old's your brother? Is he younger or older?
So I've got two brothers, but so my middle brother, Michael, we're really close in age. And my younger brother, David, he's 7 years younger. So he didn't have the same experience growing up.
So who's the boss amongst all of those then? Because I grew up with two brothers as well.
I think Michael and I'd probably fight that out between us. and David would just let us get on with it.
So here's the collective decision. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, he'd be like, lay back. Just let Steve and Mike fight that out, and then just roll his eyes and get on with it.
It's quite interesting though, isn't it? That dynamic of having brothers. I grew up in a family with an older brother and a younger brother. Yeah. And so I was the mediator, the moderator between the younger and the older. Yeah. That was my role. Yeah. I was Captain Sensible. I did, Martin will do this or whatever else it is, because we can't possibly give that to Steve to do.
Yeah. It's funny, it's created such a lot of competition. I'm a very competitive person, and I think that's because of that sibling rivalry. And it's both a strength and a curse sometimes.
Yeah, but I think in a way, Steve, I think it's really important, and you're mentioning it, but I want to come on and talk about it a little bit later, is about sibling rivalry and peer group pressure and about competition, because the dynamic which goes on in a family is so significant, and the development.
Well, just what I was just describing about, I think that you start by comparing yourself to your siblings, really. And I think, you know, that's something you're never going to be able to escape, and then it happens at school. But what we are all faced with, and what parents in particular face with these days, is your comparisons are with the rest of the world through the internet.
Right.
And it's such an unrealistic comparison that it's just, it's impossible to achieve. And people who are on, you know, Instagram perpetuating this idea that there's a perfect life that they're living because they've found this, they've taken this photo of them doing this perfect thing. It's all nonsense.
It is nonsense. But it's giving out signals and so forth. And I think if I throw into that equation, and we need to accept it, is the influence of culture and about what people have grown up with, the traditions, what you do, and the culture of the community that you're a part of. And actually understanding what those things are and how they influence the younger people within that community.
And people are seeking community through social media. That's ultimately what's driving them. But they, in my opinion, the damage that does is not as useful as being part of a human community.
No, I agree.
Actually having some face-to-face conversations and connections rather than putting up what you had for dinner on Facebook. Actually go for a walk with someone and tell them.
I've never understood that at all. When Facebook first started, and I am not on Facebook, I actually occasionally come across it or occasionally read it. You're right. I can't cope with pictures of this is what I had for dinner. Yeah. I really go, I'm not in the slightest bit interested. It's got nothing to do with me at all.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard, isn't it? People are reaching out on there, aren't they? My child has done this, or, I'm feeling like this. And it is a bit of a cry for help, and just encourage people to actually do that face-to-face, go around someone's house and talk to them. And
I always think that starts, and it doesn't continue for lots of people. When you watch people pushing their prams with their newborn child and they're talking to other mums.
Well, I thought you were going to say they're talking to on their phone.
Yeah.
That's the one that grates my gears.
No, I'm not going to. The ones that bug me about talking on their phone are those people who are reading their phone walking down the high street and actually want to bump into everybody or expect everybody to avoid them.
Yeah, yeah. And we used to have prams, didn't we, that they used to face the mum or the dad, right. and they'd be just talking to them as they go along now. But now there's just this need to be on your phone rather connected with your child, and we are seeing it damaging children, and their communication skills aren't an interaction and attention, just not what they used to be.
No. I think if we go back and you talk about competition, how that fits in, about limiting self-belief, creating that environment which is forgiving and also giving unlimited love to those, I think is something that people need to establish themselves quite early on about their values, about who they are.
Yeah, and I think there's a subtlety here as well. I think my mum was instrumental in wanting us to do well, but also being very careful to say that you can only do your best. Your best is all I expect from you. And I think what I see all too often at the moment is that there's this race to make sure that your child is at the top of everything.
Right.
So you're no longer expected to do your best. You expect your child to be the best. Okay. which is really an unrealistic expectation that you're placing on yourself and your child. And as they get older, you can just see the anxiety building in them. And that's not healthy.
I think
for
we've
anybody.
Produced some parameters of measurement and the way that we do it. I mean, I still hate and dislike intensely the fact that we seem to have to rank everything. The richest person in the world, down to, we have to rank everything, and we've ranked kids. Yeah. I grew up in a secondary school system where you were first, second, third, or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and we rank them on a very narrow criteria at the moment, which is probably reading, writing, and maths.
Correct.
And so for those children who will find reading, writing, and maths, because let's face it, some children will. We neglect all their other talents, whether that's sporting or art or creative, and so it's a really unhealthy mix that we have at the moment around expectations.
So that total child, embracing all of their abilities and all of their skills, we limit the self-belief in ourselves about what we think they're capable of doing. Yeah,
we're always going to value what we measure. And so the measurements that we have in school are so narrow these days that's where it becomes problematic. And then I think we are also inadvertently as a society measuring ourselves with how wealthy we are. But we forget that wealth can be measured in so many different ways. So unless you can demonstrate financial wealth, then that means that you're not succeeding. I think that's.
But I think we live in a world where the job you've got, the status you've got, the title that goes with it, the amount of money that you earn become key criteria in measuring that success.
Yeah, I think there are some jobs where the title doesn't necessarily equate to financial success, but we don't place enough emphasis on that. There's so many people in our community that do an amazing job, but won't be paid lots of money for that. So look at the librarians in our community who do.
Correct, yeah.
Like, they're just so amazing, the job that they do to connect our community and to work with people. And they should be lauded more for that than worrying about.
I heard the other day a conversation which kind of said, okay, there's a threat in the longer term to the library, without anybody really understanding what the library currently does.
Yeah, and even worse, I think they think the people that work there are volunteers, and they're not. They're paid, and the job that they do, they don't get enough pay for what they do, but the job they do is way beyond scanning books in and out, because they are there for people. People will go in to have someone to talk to, or to help them to solve their issues, or just have a warm space. They are making referrals to other organisations to keep those people safe.
I think the social function that they perform is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal, yeah. And we need to encourage more people to do those roles, and enable them to do those roles, rather than to aspire to be like an accountant like I wanted to be, because it was never going to bring me any happiness. It was not going to really contribute to society in the way that I wanted to contribute.
Actually, that's quite interesting, because I spent some time talking to somebody a couple of podcasts ago who is an accountant and runs a local accountancy firm. And I have to say, whatever that model is of what I think accountants do and about how they behave has fundamentally changed.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of encouraging people to think beyond the status that you get with a job that might bring you wealth, because how much social wealth do you have? How much mental health wealth do you have? Physical health, all those things are really important. What wealth do you have within your family unit? Those things should be more important than financial wealth. And I definitely see this in families, in all the schools that I've worked in, where you will try to pretend that you have that financial wealth, or you will overstretch yourself.
But you run up credit all over the place by doing so.
Run up credit, and then you're just about managing, and you put yourself in a really vulnerable situation, and it's stressful. And is it worth all of that anxiety?
No, but I think sometimes to step in and understand that their world is all about, it's predominantly focused about money, about surviving from one week to the next. Have I got enough money to buy the food that I need? Have I got enough money to pay these ever escalating bills? And the reality is people never ever own up in those areas.
Yeah. People listen to this might think, it's all right for Steve. He's a head teacher, gets paid well, and I do get paid well. But I have also been on a journey where I've always had to cut my coat according to my cloth. I've had to learn lessons the hard way about what you prioritise on, and I can honestly say that, of course, I earn more money now than I ever would have done in the past. But it doesn't bring me the happiness. It's my job, my purpose brings me happiness. My physical health brings me happiness. My social health, without my friends and my family around me, that's what brings me happiness. If I lost my financial wealth, then I would survive. But without my friends and my family, I would find that more difficult.
I think what's interesting, and it is interesting, because, you kind of said your friends and your family. Both of my kids have now emigrated to Australia.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. Yeah. It leaves a void for me, which I can't find sometimes other ways to fill.
Yeah. It's an ambiguous grief, isn't it? It's
the weirdest sensation. My son has now been gone for 14 years, and tomorrow is quite an important day because it's his birthday tomorrow, and I won't be there.
Yeah.
But he's just approaching. He's 49 tomorrow, so I can take the mickey out of him being 49 tomorrow. But he won't be here, and I won't be there.
Yeah, and I've only just come to the realisation of how important your family is, because my daughter has just gone to university herself, to Southampton, funnily enough. And no one ever tells you the last time that they're going to be living with you, or before that you see them through their, their tough times, or read them a bedtime story for the last time, or put them on your shoulders for the last time. And my best friend Matt was telling me this, and it really does hit home. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. So you have to value those things, because they're more important than anything. They're more important than your financial wealth. So yeah, treasure them like,
I think the benchmark around those things are the emotional connections that you made with certain activities. And you've hit one straight away talking to me about reading stories and reading books.
Yeah. Just, it's interesting, because I think, like, I would always say to parents, the number one thing that you can do for your child is just to read to them, or read with them, or get them to read. And here we go. This is flipped into my brain. What did my mum encourage me to do more than anything as I was growing up? Was to read. And she didn't care what I read. She said, I'll buy you anything that you want to read. So typically it was like football magazines and football books. But I became a very proficient reader because of that encouragement. And it teaches you so much: empathy, understanding, knowledge and understanding of the world. So yeah, reading is the biggest intervention that parents can ever do for their child. So I think
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I think if I look at my own kids and I look at them, trying to persuade Tom, my son, to read was a battle.
Yeah.
But Kim, my daughter, was really prolific, and she would consume books. Yeah. And I used to have to go in every night and turn her light off and just move the book, because she'd fallen asleep while reading.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's that everybody can get into reading. It's just finding something that interests you. You have to become fluent first of all, so you need to learn how to read. That's really, really important. But once you can read fluently, it's just finding something that you're interested in, because everyone has an interest, don't they? Everyone's motivated by something.
Well, they do, but I also think being aware of the language and the words that you use and how you use those words and how important those words are.
Yeah. Just reading constantly will improve your communication skills. It develops your language, your ideas of how to construct sentences, the stories that you will keep in your brain will help you in all the different situations you might find yourself in life. You develop empathy and understanding through an author's viewpoint. So, yeah, reading is just.
If I have a fascination, it is about words. And words can herald and be the banners of change for the future, and how those words exist, and the campaigns, whatever they are, and the words that are chosen to be a part of. So the word I want to ban is like.
Oh, it's like? Oh, really? Why is that?
So because people now speak to me and they go, well, it's like litters every single sentence.
Oh, yeah. It's literally is the word that upsets me, because people overuse literally. And they don't mean literally. They mean.
I promise I won't use literally. I promise I won't use literally. But it is about language and listening carefully to what it is that people are saying and how they're actually saying it. The intonation, the emphasis that they use on certain words. And there are times when words become very, very popular and overused and dramatically. If somebody uses the word unprecedented in reporting something, I want to jump down the television and strangle them.
Yeah.
Everything is unprecedented now.
Yeah, I think I'd go a step further as well. I think like the words and the language that we use to think are also the ones we use to feel. There's such a deep connection there to what we are as a human, and so I think we have to be really careful ourselves. I think a lot of our mental health issues are centered around the ways that we talk to ourselves and the language we use about ourselves and other people. And you can change the way and your perspective about things just by changing the language that's going on in your brain. It's so subtle but so effective.
So can we pick up, we're going to take a break now, but we'll pick up on the whole idea around language being the forerunner of change. And I love, and I want to expand it and understand it, that little voice inside your head who is speaking to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, what should I say there? It's.
Well, I think the thing I'd say to you, Steve, is this: we don't need to look outside to get the help. It's already there. It's how do we mobilise it?
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of think. You know, my brain goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour, so sometimes it is just like slowing your brain down and clarifying exactly what you are thinking and feeling, and just checking that you've chosen the right perspective on that as well, because there's always two ways that you can pick up a pot, isn't there? So am I choosing to pick it up by the right handle, because that can massively influence my mood and my feelings, and then how I interact with other people. So the way that you self-talk to each other and organise your thoughts and feelings is essential. Yeah.
Okay. Listening to that, let's take a break.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back.
A brain break.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
A brain break.
Yeah. Have a stretch and a run around.